Shall
Streaming.
wait. Shall wait for the stream to pop up.
I'm going to let everybody know we're here.
Oh.
Let everybody in the
If tonight's game
Discord.
were made in the South, it would be called Little Samson.
Yeah. Little sunburnt Samson.
He does look sunburnt.
Oh,
Let's
that's
see.
not where I wanted to be. What is happening? Oh, okay. Got too many tabs.
Yep, everything sounds good.
Alrighty.
I sounded a little hot, so I'm going to drop my levels down a hair.
You sound good here, but
Check,
I
check.
don't know.
That's where I sounded like way louder than you.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
No,
Just
I dropped my levels down a bit, so
okay.
it should be good.
All right. Well, we got video going, and now here's the audio in 3, 2, 1. Greetings, programs, and we're back for another episode of the Nerd Cave Retro Show. My name is Jason Robbins.
And my name is Derek Diamond.
And the sun is trying to kill us, and that's all I'm going to say about the weather for now.
In this week's weather report, brought to you by the Nerd Cave Retro Podcast, it's still hot in the South.
And coming up,
And will be for a while.
This Sunday, we're going to be doing a commentary track for something that I'm very, very interested to see. So I'll put that out on Sunday. So if you're not a patron, now is a good time to jump in, and we'll have that commentary track on Sunday. And it's going to be weird, kids. It's going to be weird.
As the old saying goes, let's get weird. I'm looking forward to it. You know, I feel like it's been a bit since we've done a commentary for because this is a legit movie, right?
Yeah. And also,
Okay.
too, the reason I'm telling everybody this is because it's going to have to stay behind the Patreon paywall. We're not going to be able to release it to like YouTube or anything like later on, like I normally do with the commentary tracks. I usually release them to the public after about a month or so. But this one, because it's something that's not readily available on regular any streaming service, I don't want to get taken down on YouTube or anything by Disney or ABC, because what the property we're watching is technically now owned by Disney, and I don't want to take on Disney for a stupid little show nobody watched.
Yeah, you don't want to go after the mouse. Because he ain't afraid to send the old cease and desist.
Yeah, well, not only that, they'll murder you and then claim you can't sue them because you signed up for Disney Plus.
Don't even get me started on that.
Yeah, like what is that about, man? Dude, that is the dystopian future we're in right now.
There have been some bad takes and some just outlandish stuff that I've read in my heyday, but that ranks up that might be the worst story of the year so far, or one of them anyway.
And not only that, but did you look into it a little bit? But basically what it was is the guy, his wife, if you're not familiar with the story, they were in Disney World, I believe, and they went out to eat. She had a severe food allergy when she went to a restaurant there, and asked the waiter about the food allergies and everything, and she was assured everything was fine. She ended up eating the meal and then dying. Well, her husband is suing Disney for wrongful death, basically, and Disney is now saying they can't sue, or he can't sue, because he signed up for Disney Plus in 2019, and in the user agreement it says you can't sue Disney for anything. And all he's suing for literally is $50,000 to cover funeral expenses and everything. And they're $1 billion, like almost $1 trillion company. They can't break off this dude $50,000 to cover his wife's funeral expenses and all that kind of stuff. What's happening?
They should have just settled, and that would have been the end of it. Like, literally, that's all they had to do.
Yeah.
And then they could have reported the story and been like, oh, well, Disney settled with them. And then the issue is resolved. But
yeah,
But no, no, they. I'm sorry, but I do not want to live in a world where when you sign up for a streaming service, you forfeit your right to sue like for wrongful death.
Yep.
That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
It's insane that we're literally living in a dystopian society at this point. We're just completely run by corporations in this world.
I'm actually in breaking news. I'm working on the process of legally changing my name to Mad Max.
Yeah. I will be Furiosa since I already got the bald
There,
head.
there we go. There we go.
But on lighter news, how was your weekend?
It was good. It was very relaxing, which was nice. As we're recording this, yesterday was my birthday,
Oh
so
yeah, happy
we
birthday by the way. I wanted to say that up
yeah,
top, but
thank
I
you.
got I got derailed by Disney.
As one does, but no, it was a nice chill day. Hung out at home for the most part. Watched a couple of movies. Had some Waffle House,
Oh
and then
yeah.
and then ended the day with a McGuire steak.
And I knew it was McGuire's too, because he sent me in the group chat. He sent a picture of a steak, everybody, and the steak was bathed in this red light, like ambient red light. I was like, I know exactly where he's at right now.
But what's even better? So of course, there was some steak left over, and I said to myself, if I can wake up early enough, I'm gonna make a breakfast burrito and eat it on the way to work. So I had some leftover steak plus some eggs, salsa, and some shredded cheese. Let me tell you, every now and then I just make something that tastes perfect.
Hmm.
This was one of those things. It was one of those like every bite of the burrito you take, you can taste a little bit of everything.
Yeah,
Oh, it was so good. When
that
I got
sounds
to
that sounds lovely.
when I got to work, I still hadn't finished it. And I was running late, but I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna take my time
Hmm.
and I'm gonna savor every single bite of this burrito. And it was so good.
Why is Derek late today? Oh, he's out in the parking lot eating a burrito.
Eat a burrito. I feel like if I had explained myself, they would have understood.
Yeah. My
But no,
weekend.
I did. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say my weekend went pretty good. We went back to Baton Rouge Friday night so I could do my feature set for Stone versus Drunk versus Sober, and at Rally Cap Brewing in Baton Rouge, and then just kind of chilled out on Saturday and Sunday. And I played, of course, played some Little Samson this weekend, which we're gonna be talking about tonight.
Little old Samson.
Little old Samson.
Into the news. Thank you to everybody for the birthday wishes. I know, people in the Discord and those on social media. So, yeah, thank you to everybody. Made me feel good.
Yeah, speaking of Discord, everybody you need to be in the Discord because we got a thriving little community over there. Just go to nerdcaveretro.com, click the Discord button, and that'll take you right to that is our never-ending Discord link right there. All you got to do is press the button. It'll take you there. Become a part of the community. Discord's great. Go over there and join right now.
Yeah, you've got your general discussion. We share funny memes, funny videos. If you want to maybe help decide on the monthly top five list, we
Yeah.
have a thread for that. We've got a little bit of
We
everything.
got
So if you're
wrestling
not part of the
talk.
Discord, yeah, yeah, absolutely. Oh, so get this. So there was a Fanatics event over the weekend in New York that had a mixture of wrestlers, like sports stars and whatnot. WWE wrestlers were in the most demand. Like they made the most money
Oh, I'm
out of
sure.
everybody. Like it's gotten pretty popular again, and
Yeah.
it's kind of insane, honestly.
I did watch more of SummerSlam over the weekend too. I'm trying to get caught up on it, but it's hard to watch 4 hour SummerSlam in one go. So I gotta break it up into parts.
Oh, the ending of SummerSlam was so good.
Yeah, I got like an hour left. I'm gonna try to finish. Maybe tomorrow night I'll finally finish it.
Yeah, it can be tough to kind of keep up with all of it because all the pay-per-views are like 3.5 to 4 hours. Raw is 3 hours, then SmackDown is two. So it can be tough, between like catching up on shows and
Yeah.
all other kinds of stuff, like playing games for the podcast. It could be tough to kind of keep up with everything, but overall, I'm really happy with how wrestling's going right now.
Yeah, I mean, I try to watch the big shows. I try to catch some Raw every once in a while, and but mostly I just try to keep up on Instagram and Threads, like all the little clips they'll put out of everything going on. So that's how I'm trying to keep up with everything.
They're quick about getting that stuff online
Oh
too, because
yeah,
even when I get the chance to watch either show live, within a few minutes, like a minute or maybe a 2 minute clip is already on Instagram.
yeah. We still need
That's
to
pretty
get.
incredible.
We should just do our extra episode one month with Joey, so I can just pepper him with all my questions about modern wrestling, because I just dove back in not too long ago, so I got lots of questions about stuff like, why is there like 85 different belts now? Like what happened? There's like a belt for everybody's got a belt now.
I mean, even we should have a belt.
Yeah, we should. I should get a belt made wherever Joey got his belt made and just hang it up right behind me.
If you get like a retro gaming champion belt made, I'm gonna have to show up at your apartment with the money in the bank briefcase.
That would make a good video.
I was about to say, but somebody has to be there to film it because that'd be some grade A content.
Yeah, Joey said in the chat room after SummerSlam, Triple H did the press conference and said a 4-hour show that's a bit too long. So at least they know.
Yeah,
I heard
they've
something
gotten a bit better.
where they were going to split SummerSlam into 2 nights. So what are they going to do? Like
Starting,
two 2-hour nights or something like that?
yeah, so they've been doing that with WrestleMania now since the pandemic, and I think each night is like 3 hours. Which I mean, I'm used to the pay-per-views being like 2 hours and 45 minutes to 3 hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, starting next year, SummerSlam's gonna be 2 nights,
Yeah, because that's
which is smart. I mean, as popular as it is,
Yeah.
I'll probably sell out both nights and make twice the money.
Because, man, as much as I love watching it, like 4 hours is just a long time, Like, that's a long show.
Got to break it up into segments.
Yeah. But we need to jump into some news. You ready to jump into it?
Yes, sir.
And tonight's top stories were brought to us by Mr. Armez Jackson. See, it popped. It silenced me again. You weird soundboard.
I will not be silenced by the
will not
soundboard.
be silenced. Today's top stories are brought to us by Mr. Armez Jackson. So if you have a news story you'd like us to cover, send them to nerdcaveretro@gmail.com. The first story tonight is from GuinnessWorldRecords.com. Gaming is serious business for man with 444 consoles hooked up to one TV. Gaming isn't just about fun for Ibrahim, I guess that's how you pronounce it, or is it or just Abraham? Al Nasser. It's serious business. The gamer from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, has hundreds of consoles in his collection, and 444 of them earned him the record title for most gaming consoles connected to a single TV. We know what you're thinking. How many HDMI ports does this man's TV have? I didn't want to know about HDMI ports. I wanted to know about how many AV ports he had, how many AV switchers he has for all these consoles. Let's see. He even set up an Excel spreadsheet that he can refer to when he wants to play a particular console. The sheet will tell him which switcher he needs to turn on in order to display the console on the TV. He told us, quote, "I have so many video game consoles. After a while, I noticed that I had a big stack of gaming consoles that I couldn't play. The TV ports are limited, and if I wanted to play, I could either unplug the existing console or I could keep everything and add more switchers and more converters. By adding more switchers, the idea came to my mind to connect all the gaming consoles I have to the TV, then contact Guinness World Records because this project is unique." Let's see. All the consoles require special setup and cable management as well. This sounds like a nightmare. I mean, I have 4 consoles on a switcher hooked up to my CRT television here next to my computer, and it's a nightmare. Just those cables. Can you imagine this? Almost 500 consoles on one TV.
I would have multiple questions for this gentleman. First of all, how much money have you spent in order to make this happen?
Oh God, this has got to be at least a couple $100,000 worth of stuff.
Two, can you make a donation to the Nerd Cave Retro Patreon?
No
And
kidding.
question three, can you let me hold a dollar?
Yeah. Hey, big man, let me hold a dollar.
Let me hold a dollar. This, like, don't get me wrong, I think this is really cool, but 444. Like that would to me that is way too much
Yeah.
trouble than
No,
it's worth.
it says right here, it is his collection is hooked up with over 30 RCA switchers and more than 12 HDMI switchers in connections the youngins out there won't even have heard of for the classic console. So definitely those old TV antenna switchers that the Atari used to have, probably a bunch of those too.
Yeah, he has everything from a Magnavox Odyssey, which is the first ever gaming console released in 1972, up to the PS5 Slim.
Yeah, IR
I'm
Monkey
sorry, but if
said in the chat
oh,
room
go
all
ahead.
that so he can not play the Atari 7800. I'm sure he's got one
He
on
probably
here.
does. I'm sorry, but if you have to have an Excel spreadsheet to help you with what console you're going to play, I think you might have a problem.
I take it this guy's
But
not
at the same time,
married.
it's really cool. It is really cool.
I'm sure this guy's not married because nobody's going to let your significant other get away with this kind of insanity.
He's either never been married or he was married.
And
So who knows?
it'd be fun to see, but like how, I mean, this is just too much. Like, how would you even know what to play?
Yeah, this would just give me anxiety. And I would just get so overwhelmed that I wouldn't play anything.
Yeah, because not only do you have to have the room for all the consoles in this room that he has, but where do you put all the games? You got to have games for him.
That's in the room next door.
Yeah,
It's just all games.
It's the rest of the house. There's just nothing
Yeah.
but games. You open up the refrigerator and like Atari games start falling out.
That's great. Our next story comes to us from TimeExtension.com. PS1 classics Blood Omen, Legacy of Kain, and Soul Reaver come to Evercade. They are coming to Blaze's Evercade family of systems in a new double pack release. Released in 1996, Blood Omen was developed by Silicon Knights, the same studio that would also create Eternal Darkness for Nintendo. A top-down 2D title with CGI characters, it places you in the role of Kain, a murdered nobleman who is resurrected as a vampire in order to get revenge over his killers. Released in 1999 and set 1,500 years after Blood Omen, the Amy Hennig-directed Soul Reaver sees one of Kane's lieutenants, Raziel, maybe is how you pronounce it, assume the role of protagonist. It was released on the PS1 and PC and will be ported to Dreamcast in 2000. Publisher Crystal Dynamics handled development duties. It actually began life as an unrelated project, following the resolution of a dispute between the firm and Blood Omen developer Silicon Knights. I feel like we talk about the Evercade library every now and then, so I'm not really familiar with these games, but it's pretty cool.
I remember these games because, I mean, you don't forget a name like Legacy of Kain, but I could have swore there was an old Nintendo game called Legacy of Kain too. Or am I just having a Mandela effect moment? Because I'm looking on the Wikipedia page, and for Legacy of Kain, all I see is PlayStation, Microsoft Windows, Dreamcast, PS2, Xbox, and GameCube. Nothing about the NES. So if anybody out there knows what I might be thinking of, just let me know.
It also says here the two games will come on a single Evercade Gigacart, which is playable on Evercade systems and the Super Pocket series. Pre-orders open on August 30th, with carts shipping to customers on September 30th.
Yeah, I'd love to get an Evercade. That sounds like it would be a great console to have, or handheld.
Oh, 100%. I need more money.
Yeah, me too. So go join our Patreon, everybody, and get us more money. This next story is from NintendoEverything.com. Shadow Gang Zero coming to Switch. Shadow Gangs landed on Switch a few years ago, and the IP is expanding with the upcoming project Shadow Gang Zero. The team took to Kickstarter, where it achieved immediate success. It'll be a month before the campaign ends, and yet the total is rising with well over $60,000 raised thus far. It is a new 16-bit prequel to the original game. Aside from the Switch, it'll be appearing on a variety of platforms, including classic ones like the Neo Geo, Sega Dreamcast, and Genesis. It'll offer more side-scrolling ninja action gameplay, various improvements, including longer and more varied levels, the ability to explore without a time limit, and no instant death from falling. Improving the graphics is also a focus. The team says there will be significantly increased number of animation frames for smoother, more dynamic character movements.
Yeah, and there are two different videos you can watch on the article. There's a trailer, which is almost done in kind of like almost like an anime style.
Yeah.
And there's also some gameplay as well for you to look at. And I mean, it looks good. Like
Yeah.
it looks like a good, like a good quality Super Nintendo game.
Yeah, it looks
And
like
we've talked about how that those graphics are timeless.
Yeah, it's like a side-scrolling kind of. I'm trying to think of what it kind of has, almost like Contra hardcore like graphics. Is what I can describe it. So it looks really cool to me. So I would play it.
Yeah, and it says here that it's currently targeting a Q1 2026 launch time. So I know that seems like a while away, but as fast as this year's gone by,
Yeah,
2026 will be here before you know it.
So if you're interested in do the Kickstarter for it, just go to Kickstarter.com and just look up Shadow Gang Zero. And as of right now, they have $68,390. They are, what is that? $17,000 over their goal. So they're already, in the green. So they're good to go. But if you want to be a part of it, go throw them some cash.
At 329 backers.
Yeah,
that's pretty impressive.
That's not bad. That much
no,
money
not
for
bad
300
at all.
backers. Wow.
All right, so this I've been excited to talk about ever since I sent it to you guys. From GameSpot.com, Halloween and Ash vs. Evil Dead retro games revealed. Collector's Bundle pre-orders live. Two iconic horror flicks are getting retro-inspired video games just in time for the spooky season. The Retro Realms double feature will let you explore bloody 16-bit worlds as Michael Myers and Ash Williams, with pre-orders now open ahead of its October 18th release for PS5, Xbox, Switch, and PC. It's a collaboration between Boss Team Games and Way Forward, the latter of which is responsible for the popular Shantae series. Retro Realms double feature Halloween and Ash vs. Evil Dead even has a pretty awesome special edition featuring a Michael Myers plush, trading cards, a VHS-style box, and more.
I'm getting that.
100%.
I want it now.
I'll take this one step further. I'm going to throw this idea out to you. This comes out October 18th. I think Halloween should be our dual review for the week of Halloween.
I'm for it. Let's do it.
That'll give us a couple of weeks to play it. As soon as I saw that this was a reality, I'm like, I must have this game.
Oh, and it's only $80 for that physical copy with everything in it. That's not bad at all.
No, it comes with a plush, trading cards, a poster. You can play as Laurie Strode if you get this pre-order, and then you get I think for who is it that you can play as for Ash vs. Evil Dead as the bonus character?
I'm not
what was her
sure.
name?
I never played the game. I do know you're talking about the girl in the game, but I can't remember her character's name though.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody will let us know.
But IR Monkey in the chat room figured it out. It was Legacy of Cage that I was thinking of, not Legacy of Kane.
Okay.
I knew I wasn't
Cage
crazy.
with a K.
Yeah. Knew I wasn't crazy. That's that Mandela effect.
I think this might be a first. We didn't have a single story from Nintendo Life.
No, I was thinking that same thing. I was even looking on Nintendo Life, but like we gotta have a story from them. But yeah, this is
Uh,
really cool. I think I might get this for
yeah,
the Xbox.
yeah. I mean, I'm going back and forth on whether or not I'm going to get the special edition.
Yeah,
It sounds really cool.
I know that's such. Ooh, just look at that box. That box is so cool.
I also like one of the big reasons why I want it is the poster.
Yeah,
The poster's sick.
yeah. Laurie Strode. She even looks like her character looks cool. Like I want to play her
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
Joey says the character is Ralph Macchio.
Ralph Macchio. All right then. And the Karate Kid shows up out of nowhere.
Yeah,
All right, well that brings to the
that'd be
end
great.
of the news. Let's go ahead and jump into this month in video game history. August 15th of 1986, Electronic Arts, EA, it's in the game, releases open-ended space-age exploration adventure game Starflight for PC, which goes on to sell 1 million copies.
Let's see. I know the box art. I recognize it from when we've
Yeah.
talked about it in the past. Kind of looks like one of those classic, mid '80s sci-fi movies.
Well, actually, you know what it looks like to me? You ever see those old Star Trek novels that just, like
Yes.
old paperback
Yeah.
novels? That's exactly what it looks like.
They all practically look the same, and you just had to really look at like
Mm-hmm.
one thing that would make it different
And
because it
probably
was the
the
same font, same everything,
probably the same artist too that did all this artwork back then.
and people probably were none the wiser,
Yeah.
thinking, "Oh, here's a new Star Trek novel." But I haven't thought of IBM in forever, by the way.
Yeah, no kidding.
August 26th of 1998, Crystal Dynamics, we mentioned them earlier, releases Gex Enter the Gecko for the N64 in North America. I reviewed this a while back on the show. Really fun if you like, fun pop culture type references, you'll like Gex Enter the Gecko. Yeah, it's one of those that I don't know that it would work today, but for the time, it was a pretty fun game.
Yeah,
I actually quite enjoyed it.
still falls into that failed mascot territory that we talked about not too long ago.
Yeah.
See, August 7th of 2001, Way Forward Technologies and THQ released WWF Betrayal for the Game Boy Color in North America. I have never heard of this game.
I remember seeing this in stores, but I never played it. It's interesting. It says here the game's plot was roughly based on a storyline in 1999 where Stephanie McMahon gets kidnapped. Her father, Vince McMahon, promises to grant the player a shot at the WWF Championship if they manage to save her. The player must then fight through a series of side-scrolling levels to rescue Stephanie. You can play as Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Triple H, or The Undertaker.
This sounds
Which is
terrible.
funny because in that storyline, The Undertaker's the one who kidnapped her.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the aggregate scores here. It's only got a 51% across the board. Game Informer gave it a 3 out of 10.
This sounds like my next bad game
Yeah,
to
I think you
review.
might have to do this. We'll have to save this
For Wrestling Month.
yeah, Wrestling Month. What's that? April? You said WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So WrestleMania
This
month,
should be
we're gonna do the bad wrestling games.
this should be the first review of the month because I'm sure that we can go nowhere but up
Yeah.
after this one.
Oh, I don't know. I know there's some bad games out there.
Yeah. August 1st of 2004, during the Evolution Championship Series, a match of Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. When do we ever talk about Street Fighter 3? Results in the viral Evo Movement 37, which is during the match, someone made an unexpected comeback by parrying 15 consecutive hits of Wong's super art move while having only 1 pixel of vitality.
Okay.
That is incredible.
Wow.
If I were the person that lost that matchup, I would have puked because I would have been so sick after that.
But who remembers? Who does anybody still play Street Fighter 3 at all? I know there's still Street Fighter 2 tournaments, but 3, I don't. You don't hear about 3 anymore ever.
Have we even talked about Street Fighter 3 on this show?
No.
I know we've mentioned the first one, but like 2 is the one that people play.
I think this is our first mention of Street Fighter 3 at all on this show.
Yeah, I'm trying to rack my brain, but I really don't think we've talked about this game.
I mean, we could review
Either way,
it.
This is probably the most memorable thing about the game.
Yeah, probably.
Is this moment from the Evo Championship Series.
Yeah, Joey says there's 3 Street Fighter 3s. I'm sure there are. There's like 85 different versions of Street Fighter 2.
Yeah.
It's almost
and
Final
Joey probably
Fantasy
has all
numbers.
of them.
Yeah, he probably does. Got them all for the Dreamcast. but before we go into the review tonight, Derek, you want to do our Patreon shout-outs?
As always, we like to shout out our awesome patrons over at patreon.com/nerdcaveretro. We want to shout out our newest patron, the official fact checker of the Nerd Cave Retro podcast, Mr. Wally Phelps. Welcome to the Patreon family, sir.
Only took him 8 years to get here.
Hey, but you know what? It's better to be 8 years late than not show up at all.
Yeah.
So welcome, Wally. Also, we want to shout out Brian Piotrowski, Nick W., Eld the Zombie, Yup Fed, a.k.a. Knife, James, a.k.a. at Jimbo Jr. over on our Discord, Raven, Danny House, Justin Nispel, John West, Daniel Salmon, Mr. B. Rez Coffee himself, Mike Eveland, Tyler Watson, Axblade07, Armez Jackson, Carlos Longoria, a.k.a. I am the Rampage.
Rampage.
Staff Sergeant Sketch, Gus and Penny, Matthew Salmon, Mr. Joey Image, and last but not least,
Mama Diamond.
Donna Diamond. Thank you all so much for your continued contributions in keeping the lights on for us here at the Nerd Cave Retro Podcast. We were talking about it earlier. Now's a good time to join up with the Patreon because we've got a pretty special commentary track that we're going to be recording this weekend. But you also get early access to all future commentary tracks. You'll get them like a month in advance. And you get your own RSS feed with zero ads. You just get to hear us talk for an hour or however long the episode is continuously. And that's how I like to listen to the Nerd Cave Retro podcast.
And I was telling Derek too before we started the show, I went through on Patreon and I made some collections, which you can do on Patreon now, which makes things easier to find. So I took all of our commentary tracks, put them in one collection, and I took all of our top 5 lists and put them in one collection. So if there's something, if you're a patron and you're like, I wonder which commentary, what commentary tracks I missed. Very easy way is to go to collections and you'll find all the commentary tracks under one banner. Same thing with our top 5 lists.
Absolutely. And for new patrons, whenever you sign up, be sure to send us your social media info, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, so we can give you a proper shout out. And once again, that is patreon.com/nerdcaveretro.
And tonight, going to be talking about Little Samson is a 1992 action platformer video game developed by developed by Takero and published by Taito for the NES. The game stars 4 heroes summoned to stop the Demon King Taked from wreaking havoc havoc on the kingdom of 4G. Each hero has different abilities, and the player can switch between the four at any time. And this is a game I've been wanting to get to for a while because this is one of those very rare Nintendo titles. And I was just looking up here. Do you know what a loose cart goes for on eBay right now for Little Samson?
$275.
Try $2,999 for the loose cart.
What?
Here's another one for
Wait.
$2,200 for a loose cart.
What?
Yeah, it's one of the most rare NES games.
You've left me speechless. I don't know what to say about that.
And here's the crazy thing. A couple of months back, I was at our local flea market here. It was the day that I bought one of the Star Trek PS2 titles that I have, the one with the ships that I still have to do, and I can't remember the name of it. One of these days it'll stick in the old noggin, but I can't remember the name of it. But it was that day I bought that PS2 game. And I was looking through the guy's stuff, and he asked me, if I collect video games and stuff, and I said, yeah, I'm usually on the hunt for like old NES titles and things. And he said, well, I have a box in my car that I got not too long ago of some rare games. You want to check them out? I said, yes. And he goes in his truck and then pulls out the shoebox, opens it up, and there's some good stuff in there. There's I think there was a DuckTales 2 in there, like, almost brand new. But the one that jumped out at me was Little Samson. Oh, he had a Panic Restaurant in there too, which is another rare title. But he had Little Samson, and it was kind of beat up. Like, it wasn't pristine or anything, but it still had the label on it and everything. It looked like it had been sitting out in the sun a little bit, like the label was kind of faded. And I was like, wow, you got Little Samson. I was like, how much you asking for it? And he said $2,000. I was like, I was willing to go up to 200, but 2,000's a little out of my price range. So yeah, I just kind of handed it back to him. I was like, you have a good day, sir. You're not going to get that at the flea market. I can tell you that right now.
But props to him for knowing what he's got.
Yeah.
Because you find a lot of those people that they don't know what they have, and they'll give you, like, they'll take $5 or $10 for it, and it ends up being worth hundreds of dollars. So that would have been crazy if that had happened, though.
Joey's asking how much for Complete Inbox. Complete Inbox, you buy it now, an 8.5 for $8,000. One that's under, that's sealed and graded. There's one that's open and it's complete. It's got the manual. It's got all the stuff with it. $5,000. And there's one here that is a 5.5 graded for $6,000. So we're going to be spending a little bit of money for Little Samson if you want the actual cart of this game.
Yeah. Props to you if you can afford it. But man, that is way, way too much to be asking for a video game.
Here's one right now. It has 33 watchers right now. It is factory sealed, WATA graded 9.4. $150,000.
Jesus.
So needless to say, I played a ROM of this over the last week.
I would have to work at my job for 4 years and save every penny to be able to afford that.
So the thing about it is, this is why we need to have video game preservation, because of things like this. This is something that should be offered on the Nintendo, a Nintendo online library. They have the infrastructure. They have the Nintendo Switch Online, NES library. Why it doesn't have every single Nintendo game on there? And I understand that there's licensing and, all that kind of stuff, but we're talking about 35-year-old games. There has to be some kind of legislation or laws in place that's like, look, this stuff can't be bought in stores anymore. So if it can be put online for free to be played by anyone for preservation purposes, why is that not a thing? And even if Nintendo said, well, because this stuff is licensed, like, if they were to put like Alien 3 or, Predator versus Aliens online, I understand that those rights are still viable rights, but these games are not available to go. I cannot go purchase this game for a reasonable amount. I can't. I can't walk into Walmart and buy a new copy of Little Samson. I just can't do it. Why is this stuff not available online for everybody to play? Because the reason I want to talk about this game, I'm in love with this game. After playing it the last couple of days, it is one of the best NES games I've ever played. I mean, why it's not up there with like Super Mario Brothers 3 as one of the greatest games for the Nintendo, I guess because it came out after the Super Nintendo came out. They didn't make that many copies of it. It probably wasn't marketed all that well, which is why there aren't hardly any copies out in the world and why it's so expensive. But this game is great. It's still a good game to play now. Like it holds up like crazy.
Yeah, I watched some gameplay earlier today in prep for the show, and I'm sure you'll get into it as you talk more about it. But what really jumped out at me almost immediately, if Mega Man and the original Ninja Turtles game had a baby,
Yeah,
it would be Little Samson.
that's
Like it seemed like it
exactly
took the best elements from both of those games and combined them into one.
Yeah, and that's what I got in my notes here. Like, this game is very much modeled after like a Mega Man style side scroller, but it took elements of all the great games like the first Ninja Turtles game, where you can switch in between the characters on the fly. So you got each character is completely different, has different skills, and you use them all to navigate all the levels. And the first 4 levels of the game are you collecting each character you're going to play throughout the game. So the first person you play is, of course, Samson himself. He's pretty much the Mega Man type of character. He plays like Mega Man, but you also have Kikira, the dragon, who can fly for short amounts of time and has sort of an arced fire blast. You have what was the next one? The Golem Gam, who's kind of like a tank, can take a lot of damage and has like this super powerful punch, but it's very slow. And then you have a mouse. Let's see, KO is the mouse's name. You can climb walls and get to hard to reach places, and he or she leave bombs behind, like poop pellets, like poo bombs, I guess. And they're pretty powerful. So it's a very weak character, can only take like 1 or 2 hits, but it's great to use during like boss fights, because you can just like, if a boss, and like the first phase of a boss fight, the boss kind of disappears and comes back at another part of the screen. If you can see when the boss is about to come back, you run over, drop a bunch of pellets, and then move out of the way. So when they materialize, boom, 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 you got a bunch of poop bombs that go off and take off a lot of damage. So each character kind of has their pluses and minuses, and you use them all to get through the levels.
And that's what's cool too, is it seems like every character is like Ninja Turtles, how you have, Donatello, where the bow staff is really slow, but it's really powerful. You've got kind of like the well-rounded character in Leonardo. And the fact that all these characters are like different, like you got a dragon, you've got a golem and a mouse. It's pretty cool. And I the more I kept watching the gameplay, the more I'm like, this seems like a game that I could really get into.
And why there wasn't a port of this to the Super Nintendo is beyond me.
That's strange. Yeah.
And we've talked about this before. There are some great games. I would say some of the best games for the Nintendo came out in this period, between like the Super NES, like 91 to 94, the end of the NES, was some of the best games for the NES, but nobody played them because the Super Nintendo was out And the NES became your little brother's console, or your hand-me-down console, or like in my case, it got packed up and put into the top of the closet and not touched for years at this point because I had a Super Nintendo.
I guess because it made too much sense to do something like that. I don't know. There's several that, and I know we've talked about them. Just good games that not as many people played. But this would have been a great Super Nintendo game, and I think would have sold quite well
Mm-hmm.
because of just how well it looks. It sounds great. It seems like it plays well. Why would you not? And I know the Super Nintendo already had an incredible library, but why wouldn't you just make it even better with a game like this?
Yeah, because this would have wouldn't even have needed that much of upresing or whatever for the Super Nintendo, because they at this was the point when they were squeaking everything they could get out of the NES. It wouldn't have taken much to just port this over to the Super Nintendo, make the levels a little bit longer, maybe add another level or two to it. It would have been great. Would have been a very memorable title for both of them, both consoles, if they would have done that.
I'd be willing to bet that if this was ported to the Super Nintendo, I would have played it. But I
Yeah.
didn't know about it until way after the fact because I didn't own an NES. And of course, by then I'm, neck deep in the Super Nintendo at that point. But I would have absolutely played this if it had been released for the Super Nintendo.
But yeah, I mean, if you're a Mega Man fan or fan of just platformers, this is one of the best platformers for the Nintendo. Especially if you're a Mega Man fan, like it plays like Mega Man, but just a little different because you get to pick between four different characters that have four different play styles. And there's 20 stages in total, each divided into 13 levels with branching paths and a boss encounter per stage. There's two difficulty levels, easy and normal. Playing on normal difficulty summons the true final boss of the game.
Interesting. Something I did want to ask you about too. With Ninja Turtles, you can switch between characters on the fly.
Yeah.
You can do that in this game too, right?
Yeah, switch them. Some stages you can't. I did notice there were some certain
Gotcha.
stages you can't, but for the most part, yeah, you can just switch on the fly. So it's very useful whenever you're getting low on health because you pick up, you pick up power ups throughout the levels where you can, there's hearts where you can replenish your health, but there's also like heart containers, which you can gives you more. More. It's like Zelda, Legend of Zelda, where you pick up heart containers and it gives you, a bigger life bar. So you got to kind of,
Okay.
pick who you want to get the bigger life bar. And usually I would pick the mouse, KO, because it is the weakest character, but it's also the strongest as far as the attacks because of the poop bombs. And that's kind of what it is poop. I keep saying poop bombs, but that's kind of what it is.
Yeah. No, from what I watched, I would back you up and say that that's accurate.
Yeah,
And that does make it interesting though, and having to strategize what character you want to power up.
yeah. And no, I don't know if Dr. Wily is the final boss because I never made it that far. This game's hard.
Like hard in the like frustrating sense or the
No,
competitive sense.
it's it's Nintendo hard. I mean, it's like
Oh, gotcha.
it's about as difficult as like Mega Man 2, Mega Man. It's that kind of where the stages aren't that long, but the boss battles can be kind of hairy.
And that's what I figured whenever you said that there were, I think, 20 stages.
Yeah.
So I figured they had to be on the shorter side, but 20 stages for an NES game, even a late NES game that's a pretty good amount. That's honestly kind of impressive.
Yeah, it's a pretty lengthy game if you're just playing casually. I did look up some of the world record speed runs for this game, and I think the world record speed run was like 9 minutes and something for this game. But with speed running, that doesn't mean anything. If you're just casually playing this game, it'll probably take you a couple of hours to finish.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to play this game
I think you
at
should.
some point. Yeah, because the more I kept watching it, the more I was like, man, I wish I had watched the gameplay earlier than today, because I probably would have played some of it over the weekend.
It's really good. I mean, there's not much I can say about it other than it's one of the best platformers for the NES because it plays so smooth. It does take a little getting used to because there is no knockback in the game, which is one of my biggest complaints about some of my favorite NES games is knockback. But they just didn't do that in this game. They're just like, you're just going to sit there and just take the hit.
Yeah,
And
it's
also,
interesting how some of those games are like that and some aren't.
it does take getting used to, though, because that was such a prevalent thing with NES games is knockback and constantly getting knocked into, bottomless wells and, taking a life from you. Because that's how those games were designed. They always put things to where that will knock you into bottomless pits. Like, that's just a staple of NES games. This game, no, they're just like, you're just going to take the hit and blink for a second. No knockback. And it does take some getting used to.
Yeah, that'd be something I'd love to ask developers. You mentioned the knockback, and be like, what? Why'd you decide to be an exception with this one?
They didn't hate children as much as the Ninja Gaiden developers were.
What's it like to have a soul in the game
Yeah.
industry?
It says here, due to poor marketing leading to low sales in North America, Little Samson became one of the rarest and most expensive NES titles. In 2022, Limited Run Games CEO Josh Fairhurst stated that Little Samson was high on his list of titles he sought to bring back after contacting Taito, which suggested the game's rights might be with the owner. Limited Run Games tracked down the owner who did not know who held the rights. So nobody knows who has the rights to this game. So why not just put it out, Nintendo? Just put it like nobody's going to sue you.
And if they do, you settle.
Yeah,
Like what Disney should have done.
you're Nintendo.
Just settle.
You have
Yeah.
you have bottomless pockets. Just throw, whatever.
You can make that go away instantly.
Yeah, it's just insane. Like, I don't know why we're having such a problem with video game preservation. Why it's such a hard concept for like Nintendo and Sega and to get together on this stuff and just be like, hey, we have these huge back libraries of games. Let's see what we can do to put all this stuff into some sort of online library.
Maybe one day.
I hope so.
We'll
Jeez.
we'll keep preaching it here on the show, and maybe we'll will it into existence. It is interesting though, you mentioning limited run, because this seems like a prime candidate for a limited run release.
Yeah, it does. I would have bought a copy of this for Limited Run Games just to have a copy of it.
And if they could ever figure out who the owner is, they could easily make that happen.
In retrospective, Little Samson has been listed among the best NES games by IGN, US Gamer, and Paste. Club Nintendo described it as a work worthy of admiration and highlighted the large bosses, particularly the dragon enemy. Let's see. Games Radar listed it as one of the 30 games they wish had been included on the NES Classic Edition. Den of Geek regarded Little Samson as one of the most underrated NES titles, while Destructoid's Zoe Handy gave positive remarks on the game's visuals and character animation fluidity, but questioned some of its design choices. I don't know what he means by that. I didn't find anything wrong with this game.
No, I mean it looked fine to me.
But as far as a number grade, I would have to give this a pretty high grade. It's not perfect by any means, but it's going to get a solid 8 for me.
I like that.
But
I think that's kind of what I figured you would give it, honestly.
But if everybody wants to throw in a couple $100 a piece, we can all get a copy that we can share amongst ourselves.
That'd be an interesting system to figure out. Okay, well, you get Little Samson for 2 weeks, and then you get it for maybe 2.5.
Rampage in the chat room says, I will write a formal letter to Nintendo about releasing all games online. I'm sure they'll acquiesce within the week. Yeah, you go right ahead with that. I'm sure that'll work out.
Please send us a copy of the letter that you're going to send,
or a lack of response that you're going to get.
Yeah,
forward that lack of response to us.
Wait like 3 months and then be like, yeah, see, we knew this was going to happen.
But that brings us to the end of this review for Little Samson. And next week, we talked about it today. We're going to do, for our top 5 next week, we're going to do top 5 games we'd like to make into a series. So and that is from Morley316 on our Discord. Thank you for that suggestion. And so send us, email, Discord, wherever. Send us the top 5 games you'd like to see made into a series. Because with the success of Fallout and the not so success of Halo, what other games would you like to see made into a series?
This is going to be a really fun list.
Yeah.
Because this is stuff that I say to myself in my head all the time. This isn't going to be one that I send you in 5 minutes and be like, it's done. And I'm going to be thinking about this for a while.
Also, too, I want to just put this bug in everyone's ear. Next month's top 5 is going to be Tyler's suggestion. Top 5 best video game themes. And I know we've done best video game music before, but this one is particular themes. And what I wanted you to do is I want to make a Google Doc where everybody, if you send, and you don't have to do this, but next month, just take your time. And if you can find YouTube clips of the themes you'd like to put on there, I'll play little small snippets on the show. Nothing too long. Don't want to get DMCA'd. But if you want to send along a clip, just email it to us, nerdcaveretro@gmail.com, and I'll compile everything into a Google Docs. But we ain't got to worry about that right now. Next week is top 5 games we want to make into a series. Also, after that, Derek, what are you reviewing the week after that?
So I saw this in the Discord. I believe it was Tyler and Rampage brought this game up, and I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, but I will learn it before I do the review. It's Einhander for the PlayStation. It's a scrolling shooter game for the PlayStation that was released in '98 in North America. So haven't reviewed a PlayStation game in a while, so that's going to be my next review, which will be September 2nd, Labor Day.
It's got the umlauts over the A, so it's Einhander, I think.
Honda.
And then the week after that, I started playing a little bit, because Arrow the Acrobat's been back in the news lately. I kind of started playing it a little bit yesterday, thinking it was going to be a crap, one of those failed mascot games, and it's actually kind of enjoyable. So I'm going to review that my next review. So that's what's coming up the next 3 weeks, everybody.
Look at us planning ahead.
Yeah, way ahead. We're way ahead of schedule on the show here.
Yeah.
But that is going to bring us to the end of the episode. Derek, Real Wisdom's been having some bangers lately.
Yeah, we're only 3 episodes in. So you can check out my last episode where I talked with producer Jonathan Miller. We go pretty in-depth about financing your movie if you are a filmmaker, which is something that I learned that I know really nothing about.
Yeah.
So
I was like, thank God somebody did a podcast about this, because I still don't know how to get money for a movie.
I pretty much told him to explain it to me like I'm 5, to use the Michael Scott quote. So if you're curious about that, you can head over to linktree.com/realwisdompod. That's REEL Wisdom Pod. And please rate and review the show. I know we say it on this show as well. You guys say it over on Open Micers. Mm-hmm. It really does help get exposure for the shows. So I know I've gotten a couple of new reviews for the first time in a while. So any rating or review would be appreciated at linktree.com/realwisdompod.
And over on the Open Micers podcast, at Open Micers on Twitter and Instagram and Threads, we just released a late episode just yesterday, a hostful episode where we talked about how I don't like to edit podcasts. And we also talked about our both shows for Stone versus Drunk versus Sober and what that was like. So go on over there and listen to that. And then the episode last week, we talked to a comedy legend, Mr. Keith Robinson. So please go check out, at least go check out those two episodes if you've never listened. But just remember, that show is NSFW, not safe for work. So please listen accordingly.
Wear headphones.
Yeah, wear headphones.
That's all I'll say. Yeah, wear headphones.
But anyway, I think that's about everything. Is that everything?
I think so.
Let's walk out the door. If you want to email us at nerdcaveretro@gmail.com. Nerdcaveretro.com is our link tree. That includes all of our socials, our Patreon, and our merch shop. ncrmerches.com. You can just go straight there. ncrmerch.com. You can get hats, t-shirts, stickers, magnets, bags, mugs, whatever your nerdy little heart desires. And we got all kind of designs over there. We even have the new one, the embarrassingly retro merchandise that's up there now. I think you're going to like that one, so go check it out. Also, follow us on social media at Nerd Cave Retro everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, Threads, all that good stuff. And if you can't give us $1 a month on Patreon, you can't get merchandise because times are tough, I get it. Go leave us a review and or a 5-star rating on all podcasting platforms. So Derek, please tell them what it's all about.
May the way of the hero lead to the Triforce.
Yeah.
Wise man say forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza.
And that's an episode.
Yeah. You
So-
playing that clip? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to tell Joey, top 5, yes, top 5, or no, into a TV series. So top 5 games you'd like to see made into a TV series. And I already know Joey's is going to be 1 through 5. Day is gone.
Yeah. He might as well just say it's 1 through 5.
I think Jeopardy's already a TV series there, IR Monkey.
It's funny you playing that clip reminded me. Last Friday, I was a guest on the Retro Movie Roundtable podcast, and that's the movie that we talked about. One of their hosts hates that movie.
What?
I told him, I said, that's grounds for getting kicked off your own
No
podcast.
kidding. I mean,
I'd be like, yeah, you don't bother coming back because clearly you don't know what a good movie is.
how do you not like that movie? That's like psychotic serial killer behavior.
Yeah, I might need to look into his daily routine. check the closet to see
Yeah.
how many skeletons
Does he
there are in
have
it.
human skin lampshades in his house? Check this guy out. But
Yeah, they were telling me they've been trying to talk about that movie for years, but the guy, the one who hates it, is like the primary host,
Yeah.
and he's always vetoed it. I'm like, well, I'm here to save the day.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you guys for hanging out with us. This has been a fun episode. I love to see a nice full chat room. Thank you guys for hanging out. And we will see all of you right here.